Welcome, everyone. I am Reverend Connie Simon, the minister of this First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati. I am honored to be here today as we honor the life of John Paul Neumann. It is never an easy thing to say goodbye to someone. It's never an easy thing to do to say goodbye to someone you love. That love does not die. It continues on and on forever. We will begin our service today by lighting the chalice, which is the chosen symbol of the Unitarian Universalist faith. And we do so with these words by Christine Robinson. In our time of grief, we light a flame of sharing, the flame of ongoing life. In this time, when we search for understanding and serenity in the face of loss, we light this sign of our quest for truth, meaning, and community. Barbara and Jenny and Brian and the rest of the family put together a video of photographs that started off with, 400 photos maybe. And the person who was putting this together said, no, it's got to be like 100 and something. So I'd get a call and I'd say, well, we're down to 300. We're in the twos now. And they did make it down to that 100 or so number of photographs. So as you can imagine, the photographs that you are about to see are extra special to the family. They are indeed good memories of John, and I hope you enjoy watching them. I would like to invite up two folks to do some readings, to share with us some words that were very important to John in his life. Bill and then Terry.
Okay, Barbara picked two readings, and we conferred and agreed that these reminded us a lot of John. The first reading is from the book of Ecclesiastes. There's an appointed time for everything, and there's a time for every event under heaven. A time for birth and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. I know that there is nothing better for a man than to rejoice and to do good in one's lifetime. Moreover, that every man who eats and drinks and sees good in all his labors, it is a gift of God. And the second reading that we thought of John is appropriately from the Gospel of St. John. Let not your hearts be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many rooms. If it were not so, I would have told you, for I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you may also be.
I'm going to read from my from a book entitled it's called Alcoholics Anonymous. These are the promises. If we're painstaking about this phase of our development, we'll be amazed before we're halfway through. We're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God's doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. They're being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we work for them. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you. And to us. Ask him in the morning, your morning meditation, what you can do each day. For the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order, but obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find in joyness. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road to happy destiny, John. May God bless you and keep you until then.
Spiritual adulthood. All life is ceremony. Every act is a ceremony, creating a result in our lives. Every ceremony we do always brings results to our lives. If we do bad medicine to others, we do bad medicine to ourselves. If we keep on doing bad ceremonies, we will eventually destroy ourselves. Anytime we live out of harmony, we are doing bad ceremonies. Anytime we treat anything with disrespect, whether it is another human being or a plant or an animal, we are performing bad ceremonies. These ceremonies not only have an effect on ourselves, but will simultaneously affect everything. We need to use our power well. Only do good ceremonies. These are the words of Don Coyes, Mohican writer and consultant. It's from a book of meditations that was very important to both John and to Barbara. The meditations were written by Anne Wilson Schaef, or edited by her. And it is called Native Wisdom for White Minds. Daily reflections inspired by the native peoples of the world. That was John. Spiritual, curious, wanting to understand the interrelationship of humans and nature and animals and plants. He was raised Catholic, and decided that the lack of tolerance that he saw in the Catholic Church didn't quite suit his vision of adult spiritual behavior, and decided to leave the Catholic Church for that reason. He believed in Bible readings. He respected the words of the Bible, appreciated them, used them to guide his life. In the same way that he was guided by native wisdom, by the foundations of the 12 steps, by nature, and by love. All of these things together were tools that John used to find a way to the God of his understanding. Now, when Barbara and Brian and Jenny told me about these things, I thought, oh my goodness, it sounds like the 7 principles of Unitarian Universalism, which happen to be written on the wall behind you. See, Unitarian Universalism doesn't have a creed. We don't have a Bible. Instead, we rely on several sources of wisdom to guide our lives, to help us figure out which way to go, how to behave, what we want to be. The first and foremost among those principles is that we affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every being, of other people, of animals, of plants, of all beings. Whether they look like us, love like us, move like us, think like us, or not. I can see that in this reading. The second of those principles is that we seek justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Well, one of the first things that I heard about John is that he believed in his civic duty to work for justice, to make sure that people got along, that people were treated fairly, that there was equity, especially in the workplace. If he saw safety violations, he made sure that they were pointed out. He believed that everyone deserved justice, equity, and compassion. The third of our principles is that we believe in encouraging one another and support one another on our own paths toward truth and meaning. I think that just learning that he engaged in this religious study, that he was into native wisdom, that he was pursuing humanist thought, tells me that that's clearly among the principles of his life. And he believed that it should be a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Honesty, integrity are things that were very important to him. He believed in the right of consciousness and in the promotion of democratic society. I'm told that he often campaigned for politicians. Some that he didn't really know that well, but because he believed that was his obligation to be an informed citizen and voter. As a result, he had many friends. Our next principle is the goal of a peaceful world. I think this is one of those areas that we all hope for. We all want a peaceful world. We see things that we may not understand. We see things that we may not agree with. But we still believe in compassion and love for other people. I am told that when John heard that his son was coming out, he didn't quite know what to do with that news. And he loved his son. I'm told that when John heard some of the hurtful things that people said about Barbara being a person of color, he stood up for his wife because he believed in equity and justice and compassion and love. You can't make other people change their views of us, but you can stand up for those you love. You can be honorable and be accountable in your space, in your dealings with others. And that's clearly what John was. And the final principle is respect for the interdependent web of existence of which we are all a part. I heard many stories of family trips to the zoo, stories of how John loved dogs and cats, and how they especially loved him, sometimes more than the other folks in the family. He was their favorite. John was an amazing person who truly lived from a place of honor and integrity. Now, sometimes I've been told that honesty and that integrity didn't always fare so well, or in that space, the family didn't always fare so well. He wanted to teach Jen that electric knives are not toys. And somehow he ended up cutting his own finger to the bone. She ended up getting electrocuted hanging out with her dad. Yeah, I don't know about this. He thought it was really important to be involved with his kids' lives. So he decided that he was going to coach the soccer team, which was absolutely amazing and a loving thing to do, except that he didn't really know how to coach and didn't really play soccer well. I am told that he loved to meet new people and loved talking to strangers, even though sometimes he would talk and talk and talk, and the strangers would have to be rescued. He enjoyed making things for people. You saw some of the things he made outside on the table. And Barbara said it brought him such great joy, especially his woodworking, even though it often meant that it took 10 times longer to make it than it would take to buy it for someone. Or he'd have to have way more equipment to be able to do it just so. But it was important for him to make these things for those that he loved. It gave him purpose, Barbara said. So as you look at the trays and the mug rack and the footstool and the bookcases and the railroad things and the little buildings, see John's face. See his joy at building something. See the love and the care that he took in making those things. I think that John found God there. And that brings me to another of the readings that Barbara shared with me that's called Reverence. And this is by George Goodstriker, someone with whom John was acquainted and shared a wonderful relationship. George wrote, "We see God in water, sun, and air, everywhere. How luxurious," Ann Wilson Schaff commented. "God is everywhere. How much more we could learn about God if we were open to the knowledge that pours into us every minute. What beauty there is in life, in the opportunity to interact with God in everything we do. Such a life indeed becomes a living prayer. When I see God in water, sun, air, everywhere, I live in reverence with everything around me, because I know that if I abuse or destroy any of God's creation, I destroy my relationship with God. I have the possibility of a living in constant interaction with the Creator, the God of my understanding." So did John live his life. Those are some of the lessons and the values and the ideas and the thoughts that he passed on to each of you in this room. And now you will carry them forward. So in a way, John's not gone. He's not gone at all. He's everywhere. He's in the water, he's in the sun, he's in the air. He's in each of your hearts. He is everywhere. And at this moment, I'd like to invite you to share any story that you have, any remembrance of John that you'd like for those of us assembled here and those watching online to hear. You can just come up this way and you'll stand at this mic, and then I ask that you go back down this way so that we can keep our distance and keep our flow. And you're more than welcome to line up if a couple of you come up at one time.
I want to thank you all for coming today to celebrate John's life. I'm John's little brother, literally, because I'm 5'9", he was 6'3". We were only a year and a half apart in age and 1 grade apart growing up through school. We were very close, and we did everything together growing up. Some of my earliest memories I have is when we were living in Hyde Park with our family. John, our sister Terry, and I would walk every day in the summer to Oakley Playground to swim, play four squares, or play on the playground. As we got a little older, about 7 or 8 years old, John and I would take the Cincinnati Transit bus downtown to the Fenwick Club. There we would swim, take archery lessons, judo, and other activities. And that building was downtown, and the gym was actually on the roof. So we do high jumping, volleyball, archery. Every once in a while, one of those arrows or balls would make it off the roof. I don't know what happened to them. Our family moved to Reading, Ohio, so my dad could have a shorter commute to his job in Fairfield at Fisher Body. That's funny. My dad, he wanted to enjoy a quiet house on Sundays. So he'd wake John and I up early, and he'd drive us to the 6 a.m. Mass. And then after church, he would drop us off at the golf course. There we would caddy all day and then walk home from there. As John and I became teenagers, we found part-time jobs together. We worked at a car wash, we worked at a department store called Twin Fair, and we did lawn cutting and lawn-type work for people. John had an interest in electronics from an early age. Our dad's hobby was to work on our friends' and relatives' TVs and radios. So in high school, John made a hi-fi stereo system from discarded TVs and radios that were given to my dad. And over time, he would make upgrades to it with the amplifiers or better speakers. One time, John bought a batch of returned 8-track players from Twin Fair, where he was working. He'd repaired them all and sold them to his friends for a slight profit. One thing John left me with was his passion for British sports cars. One of his first cars was a 1966 square-body Austin Healey Sprite, which he purchased after high school. The Sprite was a very small car, and John always said he wanted a big Healey. Well, a big Healey was just slightly bigger than the Sprite. So he convinced me to go in half with this project car we found in a nearby neighborhood, which was a 1957 Austin Healey 106, which is an earlier version of the Austin Healey 3000. Well, soon after we started on this project, John proposed to Barb, and he no longer had any time for the Healey project. So we worked out a deal. I got the Austin Healey project car, and he got my 1965 Impala convertible. That was still reliable transportation. I ended up restoring the car with the help of a donor car. I drove that car for 25 years, and I sold that and later purchased the 1966 Austin Healey 3000, which my wife Tammy and I restored, and we're still driving that to club events and car shows. If it wasn't for John, I would never have been able to enjoy this hobby, which I'm passionate about. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to share a thought? Is there anyone out there who would like to share a thought? If you all can hear me out in the art wall area. Okay. Then please join me now in reciting the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Yes. As pathways to peace, taking as he did this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that he will make all things right if I surrender to his will, that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with him forever and ever in the next. The Serenity Prayer was written by Reinhold Niebuhr, and we often don't hear all of it. It's one of several prayers that he wrote. He was an American theologian who wrote many prayers for pastoral comfort. That one is especially meaningful. We are now going to extinguish our chalice. With these words by Elizabeth Sully Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please join me now in singing "Let There Be Peace on Earth." If you are able and willing, you may rise or you may remain seated. The words will appear on the screen. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as our Father, brothers all are we. Let me walk with my brother in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let be peace on earth, and let it begin. For our closing prayer, I'd like to share this anonymous blessing. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glint on snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you wake in the morning hush, I am the swift, uplifting rush of quiet birds circling in flight. I am the soft starlight at night. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. Farewell, John. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And we will miss you. That concludes our memorial service. There is not a repast here in the church right now, so you will be able to make your ways through that door. We thank you for coming. We thank you for your support, for your kindness, and for your love that you've shown to the family at this time. Thank you all, and go in peace.